2024 is officially halfway done, and in today's video, we're going to look back at the year and we're going to reminisce and look at how good or maybe not so good WWE superstars have been throughout the first half of 2024. We're going to look at every active member of the WWE roster and we're going to give them a letter grade based on how good their 2024 has been. So we're going to talk about their storylines, their feuds, their matches, and their accomplishments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start things off by talking about AJ Styles, who's had a fantastic 2024 where he's gotten to feud multiple times for a world title. He had a feud against Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and LA Knight for the world championship at the Royal Rumble. He had a WrestleMania feud with LA Knight, and then he transitioned into what I think is going to go down as a legendary feud against Cody Rhodes that gave us potentially the best match of the entire year in terms of in-ring work rate between him and Cody Rhodes at Backlash, a great sequel at Clash at the Castle in the I Quit match, the great segment with the fake retirement. Overall, this has been a wonderful year for AJ Styles. I'm going to say he gets an A. A com from the authors of Pain hasn't really gotten to do a heck of a whole lot because he's a background character within a faction that doesn't really get to do a heck of a whole lot. He did have a WrestleMania match, so that's something to celebrate, but nothing really else of substance. So I'm going to say C-. Tozawa hasn't really gotten to be an individual this year. He's really been a plot device for the Chad Gable storyline and Chad Gable turning heel, becoming the tyrannical coach, but he has been incredibly lovable and he has been part of this storyline from the very beginning, but he hasn't really been an individual in terms of having his own matches, his own feuds, but I'm still going to say I got to give him a B- for his performance in the role that he's been given. Alba Fire was kept off of TV for quite a while there, but she's come back in 2024 and she's having a great year so far where she's already won the WWE Women's Tag Titles. I'm going to give her a B. Alexa Bliss hasn't gotten a chance to participate yet, so did not participate. Andrade has been booked like he is a very, very strong, very difficult to defeat character. However, the things that he's been given to do haven't really been interesting or anything of substance that we can really build towards. Yes, he's winning matches, but they're not building towards anything. He had the great return at the Royal Rumble, but until we see more from WWE creative alongside Andrade, I can't really go anything higher than a B-. I'll give Garza a C. He got called up to the main roster, had a decent run in NXT in the early portions of 2024, but C is as high as I can go. I've been pretty disappointed with the Pride and Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford overall. They haven't really gotten a chance to do a heck of a whole lot this year. They did have that WrestleMania feud with the Final Testament, but it never really amounted to anything really particularly interesting, and they've been more or less an afterthought when it comes to the tag titles. So I'm going to give them a B-. Here's the thing. When I compare 2024 Apollo Crews to 2023 Apollo Crews, 2024 Apollo Crews is having a fantastic year where he's actually getting storylines, he's getting matches, he's getting an opportunity to be a character on screen, he's getting mic time. To me, this is a win for Apollo Crews in 2024. I'm weirdly giving Apollo an A+ because of actually being featured on TV for once. Ashante the Adonis, can't say the same thing for him because he's not being featured at all, so he gets an F. Asuka this year has really been relegated to a background dancer during her time in Damage Control and a tag team specialist, so I don't know if we're ever going to see that dominant singles presence that Asuka was, but at the very least, she was a tag champion for the good portion of the first quarter of 2024. She lost those titles and was never really a threat to regain them either, so I'm going to say C. Austin Theory won tag titles. He won the tag titles at WrestleMania, and he's in a storyline where we're already hinting at him turning babyface, so he's becoming a fairly interesting character to follow. So I'm going to say so far his year, I'd give him a B. Baron Corbin has had a memorable 2024. He spent a good portion of it in NXT as an NXT tag champion alongside Braun Breaker. He got to be part of a fantastic tag team match at NXT Stand and Deliver, which is NXT's version of WrestleMania, and he got called up. Things are looking up Baron Corbin. I'm going to give him a B. Bayley won the Royal Rumble, was one of the headliners of WrestleMania, so far things are going pretty good for Bayley. She's a WWE Women's Champion. I'm going to give her an A. Becky Lynch had a great start to 2024 as well, winning the Women's Elimination Chamber, having that great match against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, and also winning the Women's World Title in the vacated World Title Battle Royal. So things are pretty good for Becky Lynch in 2024. I'm going to give her an A. Berto has done less than Garza in the WWE because at the very least, Garza had this thing going with Andrade and Apollo Crews, while Berto has just been a background character before Angel Garza, so I'm gonna give him a bit of a lower grade, C-. This was a down year for Bianca Belair so far, mostly because she's been relegated to the tag team division and propping up somebody else, that being Jade Cargill, which she has done a fantastic job of doing. But this is a regression year for Bianca Belair because she's not in the main event scene. She's not like the top threat in the women's division throughout 2024. She will be at some point. We're going to transition right back to that, but so far it's a modest B for Bianca Belair. Blair Davenport got called up to the main roster, so that's a win for her in 2024, but I feel like her last final months in NXT in the early portions of 2024 could have been used better. I feel like she should have been a true threat for the women's title there before she got called up, and they didn't do that with her, but still got called up. That's a win, B-. Because of Bobby Lashley's injury, he's missed the last couple of months in the WWE, but even before that, he wasn't really doing anything that was incredibly substantial, that was must-watch TV, so I'm gonna give him a C. Braun Strowman, on the other hand, has been running show on Monday Night Raw over the last couple of months. He hasn't really gotten to win any accolades or really been a threat for any of the world titles as of yet, but I'm sure he's gonna be knocking on the door of that later on in 2024. But so far, I've really enjoyed what they've been doing with Strowman since returning in 2024. I'm gonna give him a B. Braun Breaker is already having the breakout year performance that we expected from him, and it's only halfway through the year. We've seen him absolutely squash and demolish local talent, NXT, level up people. He had a great final run in NXT as well. Don't forget that NXT Tag Champion alongside Braun Breaker, a match at NXT Stand and Deliver, but now he's feuding alongside Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. This has been a great year for Braun Breaker. He gets an A+. Bronson Reed has regressed over the last couple months, but the first start of the year, he looked like a really strong, menacing heel. He was being booked incredibly powerfully, so I'm gonna give him a B. They haven't really done anything with Brutus, unfortunately, or the Creeds in general, D. Candice LeRae hasn't gotten to do a heck of a whole lot, but she has been getting more TV time alongside Indy Hartwell, and she got to become a heel, which I think she plays really, really well, so I'm gonna give her a C. Carlito would be an F, but at the very least, this stuff with the Judgment Day has gotten us the heel Carlito that we've been asking for, but I think it might be a little bit too late. I've also been finding his in-ring work a bit shoddy and a bit slow. I don't know how to explain it. You just need to watch a Carlito match. It just sort of looks like he's walking through it. I'm gonna give him a C. Carmella hasn't returned yet, so she gets a did not participate. I wish we got more Cedric Alexander, but he's not been featured at all on any of the main WWE shows. He's been on Speed, which is cool, I guess. At least it's some Cedric Alexander, but we deserve more Cedric Alexander. He gets a D, sadly. Chad Gable has gone from a guy that was in the cusp of maybe just being somebody that was going to be a forever mid-carder to somebody that is now in contention for being the best heel in all of professional wrestling right now. This run that Chad Gable is on is the best thing that he's done in his entire career. They finally let him be more of a character, and he's taken that ball and he's absolutely ran with it and already scored like 10 touchdowns. This guy gets an A++. Carmelo Hayes had that great feud with Trick Williams, arguably one of the best feuds that I've ever seen come out of NXT, a feud that main evented NXT Stand and Deliver, and it wasn't even for the world title. He got called up. He's in Money in the Bank. Things are going really well for Melo so far. He gets an A. Charlotte Flair has been out with injury all of 2024 as of the making of this video, so she gets a did not participate. Chelsea Green, again, I'm recording this before Money in the Bank. I'm hoping she wins Money in the Bank, but before Money in the Bank, she hasn't really gotten to do a heck of a whole lot. She's just sort of been a background character for Piper Niven, and she's just been getting jobbed out left, right, and center, which is something that we've all been screaming to please not do that to Chelsea Green, but they have anyway. She gets a C, sadly. CM Punk's year was completely derailed by his tricep injury. He came back to the WWE. They re-debuted, I guess you could say, returned to in-ring action in the WWE at the Royal Rumble, was injured, and he was removed from all of the awesome programs that were probably planned for him at WrestleMania, but he was still an impactful presence in the WWE by being an on-screen character, and I do think that when he is on screen, WWE is objectively more interesting. The stuff that he's doing with Drew McIntyre was so engaging and captivating. He gets a B+ purely for his on-screen stuff that he's been doing, even if he's not been able to participate in ring.
This is it. I remember seeing
goodness.
this.
Oh my God, no way.
Off the top
Oh, the production of this is genuinely fantastic. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude, this match is great. That, folks, was a preview of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at the very first ever Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 21. We're looking at an indie classic between Walter and Will Ospreay. We'll also be looking at the debut of The Fiend Bray Wyatt against Finn Balor at SummerSlam 2019, and the criminally underrated Fatal 4-Way match at SummerSlam for the Universal title between Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, and Samoa Joe. You're going to be getting these watch-alongs and more, like the Raw review, SmackDown reviews, the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, all over on patreon.com/SantiZap. We unfortunately cannot show these on YouTube. It is impossible. The only place to get the watch-alongs is on Patreon. So come check it out. It'll be the top link in the description or the link that's in the pinned comment. I think that you're going to like it, even if you just try it out for 1 month. All right, back to the video. You already knew what Cody Rhodes was getting. He's having the best year he's had ever as a professional wrestler, in my opinion. This man main evented WrestleMania back-to-back years, won the Royal Rumble back-to-back years, and he's on what's probably going to be another legendary WWE Championship run. He gets an A++. Because of injury, we haven't seen a lot of Del Toro, but he did spend some time in NXT. He was part of the stuff with LWO and Legado del Fantasma, but nothing really too much of substance for him individually. C-. I wish I could give Dakota Kai a higher grade, but I just simply can't. It's like the WWE is afraid to do more with Dakota Kai. She is more than capable to do way more than she's being given today. And in 2024, she hasn't been given a heck of a whole lot. At the very least, she's flourishing as the mouthpiece for Damage Control, but we need to see more, and I hope that we see more here in the back half of 2024. She gets a C. Damian Priest has been a champion like all of 2024 because he was a tag champion going into WrestleMania, lost the tag titles at WrestleMania, and then the very next day after losing the tag titles, the man wins the World Heavyweight Championship by cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Second man to do it at WrestleMania, which in itself elevates him a lot, and now he's a fighting champion, and I think that they're doing a pretty decent job with him overall as a champion, but I do want to see more. Overall, I am going to give Damian Priest an A. I feel like this is a down year for Dominic Mysterio. Last year, I would have been giving him A++ across the board, but he has regressed a little bit in terms of importance on TV and in storylines, but he's come back to the forefront with this storyline with Liv Morgan, which will eventually involve Rhea Ripley. So I've really been digging with what they've been doing with him in this portion here, like month 5 and 6 of 2024. But in the first couple of months of 2024, he was really hidden in the background and was rarely used. But the recent stuff saves him. I'm going to give him a B+. They are just afraid to use poor Dragon Lee. They even took away his match at WrestleMania. He gets a D. Drew McIntyre is on the run of his life, just like Chad Gable. This man is in contention for being the best heel in all of professional wrestling. He won a World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, lost it instantly, is in a giant high-profile feud with CM Punk, and pretty much every single Monday Night Raw, he is like the most important thing. He is the thing that I want to see the most. He gets an A++. Unfortunately, I'm going to give the same score to both members of Pretty Deadly. Elton Strong gets a C-, hasn't gotten to do a whole lot because they've been off of TV for like a good chunk of 2024. Eric from the Viking Raiders didn't participate. He gets a DNP. Finn Balor did spend a good chunk of 2024 as a tag champion, but again, never really given anything of substance beyond just being relegated to being a tag team guy. We're now recently seeing some stuff with him and Damian Priest. Maybe that built some tension to something that might lead to a world championship match, maybe a high profile match at SummerSlam. We shall see. But in the first portion of 2024, I was left wanting more from Finn Balor. He gets a B. Giovanni Vinci, pretty much all he did was get kicked out of Imperium. He gets a D. Grayson Waller won tag titles. He's been doing talk shows with giant names like Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins leading into WrestleMania. And of course, he's just blossoming as one of the best heels in professional wrestling right now. He's just a natural at it. This has been a great coming out party year for Grayson Waller. He's had a great 2024. He gets an A from me. Gunther was such a dominant Intercontinental Champion leading into WrestleMania. He lost the championship at WrestleMania in one of the best matches of the entire year, and rather than losing aura and taking a step back, this man elevated himself even beyond that, won the King of the Ring, and now has a scheduled championship match at SummerSlam. This man is going to have maybe be in contention for being the superstar of 2024. He gets an A++. Indy Hartwell got a lot more screen time in 2024, being involved in that storyline where she didn't want to do any of the bad stuff that Candice LeRae was making her do, eventually fully turning to to the dark side, so at least she's been getting a storyline and getting on TV, getting matches, but I can't go higher than a C. Ilya Dragunov spent a good portion of 2024 as a champion, as the NXT champion, was in a major high-profile match at NXT Stand and Deliver, was in an awesome match against Trick Williams for that World Championship. He was called up, had a match of the year contender with Ricochet, just had a match of the year contender against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. So this guy is as advertised. So I'm going to give him an A. I want to give a higher score to Ivar of the Viking Raiders, but unfortunately they haven't done a heck of a whole lot with him. I was interested to see what they were going to do with him in NXT, but because of his injury, that's been halted. So I can't go higher than a C. Ivy Nile is going to score a bit higher than Brutus because at the very least, she's getting some screen time outside of the Creed brothers by being, you know, a helping hand to Maxine Dupree throughout the year. So I will give her a C. Io Sky was a great champion throughout 2024, had a match of the year contender, in my opinion, at WrestleMania, and now she's developing into a different version of herself, a more angry version of herself. And to me, she is still continuing to show week after week after week that she is the best in-ring performer from the women's division right now. She gets an A. Jacob Fatu, we've only had him for 2 weeks, but in those 2 weeks, he's made such a massive impact. So I am going to give his performance, what little we have in 2024, I'm going to give it an A. Jade Cargill made her debut in 2024, just a massive, huge presentation for her for the first several months of her run in the WWE, was instantly put into a really high-profile tag team with Bianca Belair, won tag titles, WrestleMania match, had that huge spot at the Royal Rumble where she eliminated Nia Jax. She gets an A-. Jey Uso is now actually feeling like main event Jey Uso in 2024. It was kind of like a meme in late 2023 that he was just mid-card event Jey Uso, but now he's really shown the world that he is the top babyface on Monday Night Raw, and he's truly developed into that role in 2024. I think he's had a great year, already had a championship opportunity as well, and he had a WrestleMania moment. Not the match. I hated the match, but he was part of that awesome WrestleMania moment to close the show. So I'm going to give him an A. Jimmy, on the other hand, I can't score him as high because he hasn't really been able to step out of the shadow of the bloodline. Right now, Jimmy is really only relevant when the bloodline storyline is happening. Meanwhile, Jey Uso has made himself relevant entirely by himself. So I'm going to give him a C. Joaquin also hasn't been featured too prominently, especially since Del Toro's injury, but anytime he's on screen, the matches are good. So I'll give him a C-. We're seeing a lot more of Johnny Gargano, a lot more of him on the microphone, a lot more of him in backstage segments, a lot more of him in social media as well. So I've been really enjoying what they've been doing with Johnny Gargano in 2024. Even had a WrestleMania match, which was his first ever WrestleMania match. So he's having a good year for him. So I'm going to give him a B. Julius Creed of the Creed brothers, I'm going to score a tiny bit higher than Brutus just because whenever they are on screen, I feel like it is Julius that steals the show with his in-ring work. So I'm going to give him a C- for his performance in 2024. Kairi Sane hasn't gotten to do a heck of a whole lot. She's literally just been a henchwoman. She did win tag titles, but it never really felt like the WWE cared about their championship reign at all. So I can't go higher than a C-. Carl Anderson has had some pretty good success down in NXT. He's been incredibly entertaining over there. Hasn't done anything on the main roster, but at least his work on NXT has been good. I'm going to give him a C. They're trying with Karrion Kross, and they are trying really, really hard. So at least I can commend the WWE for giving a chance to this Karrion Kross storyline. Do I like it? Does it land with me? It absolutely doesn't. But he got a WrestleMania match, and he's been in feuds with big groups like you've had him feuding with the Pride and now the New Day. So that's cool. Getting TV time, appeared on NXT. Sure, whatever. B-. I really like the Party Girls. I love KC2. Whenever they're on screen, they're entertaining. I don't feel like they've gotten enough love in 2024, but whenever they did have matches on Monday Night Raw, they are inherently always really entertaining. So I'm going to give both of them a C. Kevin Owens has been really entertaining in 2024, being involved in that championship feud against Logan Paul in the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Lost both of those matches. Being involved in the feud with the Bloodline. Lost that match as well. So Kevin Owens is a bit on a losing streak when it comes to his premium live event status, but still, this is Kevin Owens. B+ for him this year so far. Kiana James has been an afterthought since being called up to the main roster, and even in NXT, I don't feel like she was being used ultimately legitimately that well, which is why I was shocked that they called her up in the first place. She gets a C-. Wilson, we already talked about, pretty deadly, also gets a C-. Kofi Kingston and the New Day in general haven't really been featured very well on Monday Night Raw. They've gotten matches pretty much every single week, but nothing that really develops into a good enough storyline to pay off at a PLE that seems to be the impetus of every single New Day storyline. It gets going, and it only happens on Monday Night Raw. It can never go beyond that, it seems, with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. I'm going to give it a C. Liv Morgan came back at the Royal Rumble. She won a Women's World Championship. She became a fan favorite because of her great improvement in terms of in-ring work since she's come back. So to me, she's been in a bit of a renaissance. I'm going to give her an A. I'm just saying, compare LA Knight's first portion of 2024 to LA Knight's first portion of 2023, and you'll quickly realize that it's a significant improvement. He's had a world championship opportunity at Royal Rumble. He actually had a WrestleMania match this year, and he's been having feuds left, right, and center on SmackDown, and he's part of the elimination of the Money in the Bank ladder match, and he's got this high-profile feud going on with Logan Paul. He's having a great year. He's getting an A. Logan Paul is beating everyone that he feuds with, whether it's Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. He's got a set-up feud here with LA Knight. He did lose to Cody Rhodes, but got a championship match against Cody Rhodes in Saudi Arabia, King and Queen of the Ring, in a fantastic match. I'm going to give Logan Paul, even though he's a part-timer, I'm going to give him an A for every time he's there. It's really entertaining, and he's doing some really good stuff. Ludwig Kaiser is having a great 2024 because this is the year that we're seeing that Ludwig Kaiser is absolutely capable of being a solo superstar. To me, this guy is a guaranteed top-level heel in the WWE at some point when the WWE wants to use him as such. In 2024, he's demonstrated that by going on as a single star, by demonstrating his ruthlessness, by injuring people. This has been a great year for Ludwig. He gets a B. Just like Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows been doing some pretty fun stuff down in NXT. I'm going to give him a C. Lyra Valkyria got called up from NXT. She also was Women's World Champion at some point in 2024. And on top of that, she went deep in the Women's Queen of the Ring tournament. So she's already being heavily featured on Monday Night Raw as a prominent member of the main event scene. So this is a great year, great rookie year for Lyra Valkyria. She gets a B+. Maxine, basically the same thing as Tozawa, where she's just sort of an auxiliary piece to the largest storyline that's the Chad Gable heel turn. So I'm going to give her a B-. Michin has been great, mostly just on NXT. She's having a great feud with Jada Parker over there. I just wish she got featured more on the main roster, so I can't go higher than a C. Montez Ford, just like Angelo Dawkins, can't go higher than a B because them as a tag team just haven't really been used very well, sadly. Naomi came back to the WWE at the Royal Rumble, had a world championship match at Backlash. She's being featured prominently on SmackDown. So this is a pretty decent year for Naomi. I'm going to give her a B. The Miz is getting way more TV time than he's gotten in the early portions of 2023, which I think is really good for The Miz because he's incredibly entertaining. This partnership with R-Truth has been so much fun. He won the tag titles at WrestleMania. So overall, I'm going to give The Miz a B. Nia Jax had a super powerful performance at the Royal Rumble, and then on top of that, she goes on to win the Queen of the Ring. She's got a scheduled championship match at SummerSlam. She's being featured prominently as like the top heel of SmackDown. She's having a great 2024. She gets an A. Odyssey Jones, who? Omos, just, I don't know where the hell he is, man. Somebody needs to tell me what is going on with Omos because he was featured a lot and then disappeared, gone from what seems to be the entire face of the earth. F. We haven't seen a lot of Natalya on the main roster because she's been mentoring people down in NXT, mostly mentoring Carmine Petrovic and having matches against Lola Vice and even feuding with Shayna Baszler in NXT. So she's been doing some stuff, but just not stuff that the wider WWE universe has been seeing. So I can't go higher than a C. Piper Niven is now being featured as a top-level heel on SmackDown, which is great. She even got a world championship opportunity in 2024, and she's starting to get out of the shadow of just being the quiet monster for Chelsea Green. So this is a good year for Piper Niven. This is a B. I thought that this was going to be the year of Pete Dunne. It hasn't really been that. I feel like he's just been lost in the shuffle of a weak tag team division. He's been basically sent right back down to NXT alongside Tyler Bate as part of the New Catch Republic, but we haven't really seen him blossom how I was expecting him to blossom this year. C+. R-Truth has consistently been one of the most entertaining things about every episode of Monday Night Raw, especially at the start of the year. The stuff of him being part of the Judgment Day. He won the tag titles at WrestleMania, got that big WrestleMania moment, and held those tag titles for quite a while. I'm gonna give him an A. Randy Orton is unfortunately like losing every single major PLE match that he's been a part of, just like Kevin Owens, but still, he is featured prominently, heavily, made it all the way to the final of the King of the Ring tournament, lost that too, because they just seem to be using Randy Orton as a stepping stone these days. But mark my words, later on in 2024, the Viper is going to awaken and he is going to tear everyone down. For now, he gets a B+. We unfortunately haven't gotten to see enough of Raquel because of her illness, so I can't really go higher than a C-, but she did persevere through that illness and had that match at Elimination Chamber, so I gotta give her a lot of respect for that. Rey Mysterio has definitely taken a step back this year, I feel. Rey Mysterio has been featured heavily in the early portions of 2024 since coming back from his injury, having that program with Santos Escobar, Legado del Fantasma, Dominic Mysterio that culminated in that match at WrestleMania, again, still being the leader, the spirit of the LWO, being on TV every single week, having matches. I'm gonna give him a B. Everything I said about Akam, I'm gonna say about Razar, C-. Rhea Ripley got to main event a PLE in her home country in Perth, Australia, as she defended against Nia Jax. She also got to have a massive, major headlining type match against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, but unfortunately, this injury derailed what could have been a legendary year for Rhea Ripley. So I have to cap her a B+ because the injury just robbed us of so much time in the early portions, in the back half of the early portion of 2024. Roman Reigns, look, purely because of all the stuff at WrestleMania, the press conference, of course, the back-to-back matches on back-to-back main events, night 1, night 2 main event, the Royal Rumble match that he had, I'm going to still give him an A+. Sami Zayn is like the king, the top of the mid-card right now, winning the Intercontinental Championship, dethroning Gunther, the longest reigning, most dominant Intercontinental Champion in the history of the WWE, beating everyone left, right, and center that comes after that Intercontinental Championship. I'm going to give him an A+. I feel like this should have been the year of Santos Escobar. He had momentum after he took out Rey Mysterio, but he never properly capitalized on it, and neither did the WWE, and I felt like it was too late when they tried to give it some gas going into WrestleMania in that feud with the returning Rey Mysterio. I can't go higher than a C. Seth Rollins unfortunately spent the majority of the first portion of 2024 injured, and yet he persevered and continued to have matches with that injury. He had 2 matches on WrestleMania weekend. He is an absolute animal. He is somebody that we are going to sorely miss when he's gone. Yes, he disappeared after WrestleMania to rehab the knee injury, to get better, to spend time with his family, but the first 4 months of the year that we had Seth Rollins, he was legendary. He gets an A+. Shayna Baszler has just sort of disappeared into the tag team division. She spent some time in NXT where she ended up losing her feud to Lola Vice, getting knocked out in an MMA match, which is kind of crazy considering she is like the MMA person. Anyways, C-. Sheamus has been on the shelf for the majority of 2024, but since coming back, he just quickly reminded everyone how good he is. I'm sure that this score is going to be much higher at the end of 2024, but again, we're only doing the first portion of 2024, so I can't go higher than a C because he's missed so much of the year. Shinsuke Nakamura basically disappeared in 2024, which is just so sad. D. Solo Sikoa went from the quiet guy that no one cared about from the bloodline to arguably the biggest heel in all of professional wrestling, especially with what just happened with Paul Heyman. Him as the leader of the Bloodline 2.0 for me took a while to really get behind, but we're there. We have reached destination. Tribal Chief Solo Sikoa, A++ for what he's been doing in 2024. Tegan Nox has more or less disappeared. I see her all the time on WWE main events, so C-. We had The Rock pretty much for the entirety of the first 4 months of 2024, which is still mind-boggling. He came back as a babyface, changed his tune. He became the best heel that I've seen in so long. Had a fantastic match to main event night 1 of WrestleMania. Was a huge contributor to making the night 2 main event such a legendary affair. Dude, the Rock was just on another game this year. He gets an A++. Tiffany Stratton is about to hit another level, but even in the first portion of 2024, she had a great start to the year, being called up from NXT to the main roster, having a great showing at the Women's Elimination Chamber, already getting championship opportunities like the match at Backlash. So she has already been very heavily featured in the WWE. I'm going to give her a B+. Tama Tonga, at the very least, as like an angry enforcer and in-ring worker for the Bloodline, has stood out to me, so I'm going to give him a B. Tongaloa, on the other hand, hasn't done jack shit. Haven't really been impressed with him in the ring. And in terms of a character, he just sort of exists and stands there. He gets a C from me. Tyler Bate hasn't really had the coming out party that, just like Pete Dunne, that I thought that he was going to have this year. Again, pretty much relegated right back down to NXT, which is sad to see. He gets a C, sadly. Xavier Woods has sort of been lost in the shuffle, just like Kofi Kingston in this mid-card pile that never seems to get good enough to warrant a PLE match, sadly. And the stuff that they're doing with the Final Testament isn't hidden on any notes. He gets a C. Zelina Vega was in the C's, but in the last month or so in this feud against Liv Morgan has elevated herself, got a championship opportunity, and reminded the world that she is incredibly good, not just in the ring, but the promos that she was cutting against Liv Morgan in this last month have been absolutely torching. They've been so good. She gets a B-. Zoe Stark, as of the making of this video, this is before Money in the Bank, has just been completely relegated and disappeared from anything that could resemble the main event scene in the WWE. She's been in the tag team division, and even in the tag team division, they've just not been a dominant force that they should be when you have Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark on your team. Right now, it's a D. And just for fun, I'll toss in the Y at 6 here. The debut, the stuff with Abby the Witch coming out and giving the tape, taking out Chad Gable, making us all believe that they murdered him. The videotapes with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy have just been must-watch TV. They get an A. All right, folks, those are my mid-year grades. I'll see you at the end of the year to see if your grades get better or worse. But that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.